Hello, thanks so much for joining in. Um, this is a really interesting topic to me because I experienced it personally and I hear it a lot that people really struggle with this teaching of Bruno's that there's this force called evil. So I recently got a comment on one of my videos. I'm going to read that now. The comment is, what I continue to stumble in terms of his teaching is the notion of two evil forces. My faith tradition teaches that there's only one force. And yes, we can miss the mark when we fail to align ourselves with our true nature, which is also good. But the minute we realign, that's what we thought was evil falls away and is no more. Yeah, I hear that a lot. And that was my experience. Initially, when I first heard about the teachings of Bruno, I just kind of ignored this evil thing. Like, I was like, no, there's no such thing as evil. That's just I don't know why this dude, Bruno Groening, is talking about evil because he seems to be one of the wisest masters that's ever walked in the public sphere. I don't know why Jesus talked about evil, another one of the greatest masters, but maybe it's a mistranslation. I just ignored it. I tuned in, I did Einstein, I experienced healings. So, so that's the first thing I want to share is that it's not about believing. Bruno's teachings have nothing to do with belief. What it has to do with is experiencing the truth and realizing the truth for ourselves. So I experienced many, many, many healings on this path. Not only not believing in the idea of evil, but saying, no, Bruno is wrong on this point. There is no evil. So that's the first thing to keep in mind, is that while it's a central teachings of Bruno's, Bruno said we have the duty to convince ourselves and to find out what's true for ourselves. So my journey with this idea went something like this. I ignored it for a while. And then I began to read and really contemplate Bruno's teachings that all disease, all suffering comes from this thing called evil. So I really sat with that. So the question is, if there is only one force, let me back up a moment. So that's a really profound thing to sit with, that all disease, all suffering, every problem, and just take a look around the world. This world has a few problems, right? Um, that it all comes from this mysterious thing that Bruno and other mystics have called evil. So when I really sat with that, and then I really started to observe my thinking, because Bruno said that this thing called evil, that good and evil operate in two primary ways, energy and thought. Okay? So, and that from that's where behavior comes from primarily from thought, actually. So then I just began to observe my thoughts, and I noticed that some thoughts were literally like destructive. I'd be walking down the street having a great day, and I would and this thought would appear from the past, like, oh, blah, blah, blah is such a jerk. I can't believe he da, da, da. And if I didn't catch the thought, next thing I knew, my day was ruined. And I was in a bad mood, my body tensed up. Um, I was out of flow. I wasn't necessarily being mean to other people, but I certainly wasn't being kind. And so the question is, where do thoughts like that come from? And that's just a thought that stresses our day out. Now let's think about thoughts like a thought appears in someone's mind to really do something that really hurts another person, like kidnap someone, hold them hostage, torture. what we would call, what is sometimes called acts of terrorism, things that are done not only to harm people, but to also instill fear and terror. Where do those thoughts come from? Where does that come from? As I began to really think about it, what I came to see is that the concept of evil actually really makes sense to me because, especially in the 21st century on planet Earth, you know, we've got children have young infants developing cancer. We've got an epidemic of child molestation. We've got, last time I checked, 40,000 people starving to death every day while there's an abundance of wealth available. We have people who are supposedly representing God, um, sexually abusing children and other people. We've got, murder and wars. And, if, Bruno Groening spoke about nuclear power, that the splitting of the atom is one of the most destructive things that's ever occurred on this planet. Because not only the effects of the possible wide scale destruction, but that atomic energy actually fundamentally um, interferes with the life process. That literally the aliveness on this planet is literally being killed by atomic energy. But then it all got really simple when I read one of Bruno's quotes, which says, "The good regenerates and the evil destroys." And he also said that the evil is seeking to destroy this planet. Okay, so there's a consciousness, a force, an energy that literally is intending to destroy this planet. And then when I meditated on evil further, what came to me is that, all this thing all at once is people to be sick and suffering and separate from God forever. If you observe these thoughts, that's all at once. That's the only intention of those negative thoughts, to lead to sickness, suffering, and separation from God. But let's again back up. Forces are at work to destroy all life on this planet. If something doesn't change, all life will end on this planet. That's the direction that we as a species are headed. And according to Bruno Groening, that's evil's plan. And it's actually not going to happen, according to Bruno Groening, but that's a wake-up call. So Bruno Groening said, Satan is mighty, God is almighty. So the person who wrote this, Bruno Groening's teachings aren't necessarily in disagreement with what your beliefs. According to Bruno Groening, God has all power, and in fact, the evil actually ends up serving God, because Bruno Groening said only things that serve as a lesson are allowed to happen. That means all these horrific evil things that are going on actually serve a higher purpose. Maybe not the best or the most efficient, but even evil serves a purpose. So that's what opened my eyes, was to notice all these things that are happening on the planet. That's so funny. That's probably my friend calling to tune in. I'm going to turn off the phone. It's so funny. That's my friend calling to tune in. So just meditate on that's what really opened my eyes to evil. And actually, a Christian theologian in the earliest 20th century said evil's greatest victory was to convince people that it doesn't exist. Now, some people don't like the word evil, but they're very comfortable with the word ego. Okay, just keep in mind that ego is a psychotic sociopath murderer that wants to destroy all life on this earth. So if you're uncomfortable with the word evil, okay, but keep in mind whether we call it ego, illusion, delusion, it takes people so far down the hole that they commit suicide. Whether you call it evil, ego, illusion, delusion, can you fathom how cunning, baffling, and powerful such a force is that can lead someone into such depths of misery that they take their own lives, or take someone else's lives, or torture someone? In the original edition of the Course in Miracles, and this was interestingly enough edited out, it says daily the ego worships the crucifixion of the Son of God daily. Okay, don't like the word evil, like the word ego. Just keep in mind that this thing called ego on a daily basis celebrates and worships the crucifixion of Christ. One of the most, from my point of view, one of the greatest tragedies on this planet was that the purest soul was rejected, and his body anyway, crucified. And the ego worships that, celebrates that every day. So that's been my journey with the concept of evil, from absolute no to it's the only thing that makes sense to me. And the last piece, and this is really important, Bruno Groening said that evil is allowed to operate on this planet in a way that it's not allowed to operate in any other part of God's creation. So what we experience here on this earth is not what goes on in the rest of the universe. You know, God is this big, and evil is it even that big? However, on this planet, it can seem really huge. But the Earth right now is, according to Bruno Groening, a very special school and a very special opportunity to learn about evil and face evil and rise above it. And the way to rise above it is to turn to the one power that's greater than it. Thank you so much for your comment. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Aloha.